Fine, good morning to you all students. Hi students, how are you? I hope you all are fine and you all are doing well. I hope by God's grace you all are safe. So students, are you watching daily online classes? Please watch daily online class, okay students? So, welcome to our today's online class. Okay, our subject is computer science. So I'm Shiny, your computer teacher. Okay. So, before I am going to teach about today's portion, so just recall what are the things I have taught at the last class and what are the homeworks I have given at the last class. Okay. Okay, students. So now we are studying about which chapter? So now we are studying about which chapter, students? So you are studying about chapter 1, Introduction to Computers. Isn't it? So in this chapter, you have studied about what do you mean by computer. So right definition of a computer. Then functional components of a computer. Isn't it? So last class, I have taught about definition of computers. Isn't it? Define computer. And also functional components of computer. So just recall, so in this chapter, what are the important questions I said? So what are the important questions I said in this chapter? First, very important 5-mark question is generations of computers. Again and again I am telling, so please don't skip it, please study, okay? Generation of computers, very important 5-mark question. Then data and information, important 2-mark question. Then define computer, important 2-mark question. Then yesterday I have started functional components of computer, important 5-mark question. Okay, so I asked you to write all these questions in your notebook, isn't it? Yesterday whether I said or not to write all these questions in your notebook? Okay. So how many of them have written? So what are the portions I asked you to write? So please write that portions daily. Okay. Because you have interactive session class on Wednesday, 3 o'clock. So at that time I'll ask to show that notes. Okay. So you should write what are the things I asked you to write. Understood? Okay. So today I am going to teach about components of a computer. So yesterday I taught, isn't it? So always the components of a computer or definition of computer, everything is divided into a 3 important parts. What are 3 important parts? Input unit, processing, output unit, isn't it? So input unit, you are giving input. After giving the input, the processing will be done by the CPU. Then after processing, you will get the proper output, isn't it? Okay. Then in this CPU or processing unit, what are things will be there? ALU, internal memory, main memory, secondary storage, isn't it? So today you are going to study about each and every units in detail. Okay, so again and again I am telling, this is very important 5-mark question. So just you need to define, then you need to draw this diagram, then you need to explain each headings. Okay, so first, so what's in the computer, what's the first unit? So come divided into 3 parts. What are they? Input unit, processing, output unit, isn't it? So first we are going to study about input unit. Okay, so what's the meaning of input? Okay, so you are taking a food. Okay, for example, you are taking a food. So you are giving input. So if your body need to get the good nutrients or good vitamins or good health, means you need to take good food, isn't it? That is you are inputting or giving or feeding some important nutrients food, isn't it? Likewise, what's the use of input unit mean? Mainly used to feed any form of data. Any form of data in the sense, maybe it's a number or alphabet or whatever, maybe audio or video or photos, images, then animated, whatever maybe. Okay, so input unit is mainly used to feed what? Any form of data. Where you are going to feed? In the computer. Understood the first point? So in the 5-mark question, so you should first put the heading functional components of computer. Then you need to write, yesterday I explained, no, 4 points. Okay. Afterwards, you should draw the diagram. Then after the diagram, you should explain each heading by heading in detail, likewise this. So each heading needs to be minimum 3 points or 4 points. Okay, so this keyboard and this mouse diagram is not important. If it possible means you draw, otherwise leave it. This pictures and all not important. Okay, okay. Then what's the unit of use of input unit? Input unit is mainly used to feed any form of data. Any form of data in the sense what? Maybe text, alphabets or numbers or video or audio or any kind of data where you need to give the input to the computer. Okay, so you have given the input to the computer. So after giving the input, all the data need to be stored where? All the data you need to be stored where? In the memory. For example, you are studying. Okay, so you are studying. So what input you are giving? Just a thing, by eyes you are seeing the letters. For example, you are going to study one paragraph. Okay, so by your eyes you are reading that paragraph. So your brain will understand the particular person is reading English paragraph. So after reading, you are trying to study. After studying, what you will do? You will store or memorize everything and store inside via brain. Why? So once you are storing in the brain means only during the exam you can able to recall it. Isn't it? Same way, so input unit you are giving input to the computer for your further processing. You are going to store in where? Memory unit. Understood the 2 points you have studied input unit? Understood? What's the first point? Input unit is mainly used to feed any form of data into where? In the computer. So after feeding the data, it will be stored in where? Memory unit. So why the data is stored in memory unit? For your further processing. Maybe after 10 you will store, for example, you are storing one videos or one movie maybe in the computer. So by pen drive or anything you are copying inside the pen drive. Okay, inside the computer. So after 1 week you are going to watch the movie. Okay, so by the pen drive you are copying. So you are giving the input by means of pen drive, then taking the movie file and copying into the system, that is processing. Then after 1 week you are going to watch the movie, that is further processing. Understood now? Okay. So these are the examples of the input device. Just a thing, you need to type something into the computer. So from where you need to type? Only possibility is keyboard. Or you need to select something. So only possibility is mouse. Likewise, so most important input, two important input devices, what are they? Keyboard and mouse. Understood? So understood the first paragraph? Okay, once more you say 3 points I said. What's the first point? Input unit is mainly. So please now itself note it down in your notebook. Why I am going slowly and explaining line by line means because you didn't get the textbook. Anyway, you need to study, isn't it? So please note it down in your notebook also. So what are 3 points? Input unit is mainly used to feed any form of data to the computer. So after feeding the input data, all the things will be stored in where? In the memory. What's the use? For the further processing. So what are the example for the input device? Keyboard and mouse. So this you might have seen, this is keyboard. This is mouse. Okay. So first thing over. Input unit over. So what's the next thing? What's the next thing? CPU or central processing unit. Isn't it? So this, have you seen CPU in this in our lab, computer lab? This is the CPU. Not in computer lab, in your class itself having. And the smart board, each and every class we have this CPU, isn't it? Okay. So this one we are CPU. What's the full form for CPU? Central processing unit. Okay. So this is the picture of CPU. This is the internal picture of CPU. That means internally if you are seeing means like this only it will be there. Okay, so this CPU is very important component in the computer. Okay, or major, most important or major component computer. Okay, so this CPU only execute the instructions. For example, you are giving input by means of numbers or alphabets or videos or audios or anything. So it needs to be processed. Okay, for example, you are copying a movie in the computer. So while you are playing, it needs to be play, isn't it? So that is called processing. So that processing is done by whom? This CPU. Okay, so this is the major, first point, this is the major component of your computer, mainly used to want execute software instructions. So for example, if you need to play the movie means for that movie, particular software will be required. For example, MX player or VLC media player like that. Okay, so based on that, it will execute the instructions. That's the first point. It will major component and also it will execute the instructions. Okay. Then second point is, so in the CPU, in the last class I have shown a diagram, isn't it? Or remembering now also first slide I shown that one. ALU, control unit, memory, isn't it? So this CPU also control all the components inside the CPU. So this is the outer layer of the CPU. Then inside you are seeing lot of things or lot of minute devices are there. So all these things or all the operations are controlled by whom? CPU. Okay. So the CPU will control other common. What are the components inside? It will be there? Memory, input, output. So all the units and all the components will be controlled by whom? Inside the CPU. Understood the second point? So this is the second point for CPU. Then third point is, listen, important. It accesses binary data as input. For example, you are typing English. How in the keyboard, how you will type? A, B, C, D, like normal English alphabets, isn't it? So you are typing from the keyboard using English alphabets, isn't it? But the CPU will access all the data in the form of binary. Understood? You are typing by means of normal English alphabet, but the CPU will access each and everything in which format? Binary. Okay, so binary means nothing but numbers, that is 1 and 0. Binary means what? 1 and 0. So next chapter you are going to study detailed about this binary systems. Next chapter is fully problematic. So in that chapter you are going to study about that binary detail, binary numbers. Okay. So what the CPU will do? It will access all the data in the form of what? Binary. Okay. Then after converting into binary, it will process the data. Understood? After converting into binary, it will process the data, then it will give the proper output. For example, you are typing your name. For example, I am typing one letter called Rose, R-O-S-E. Okay, so this full letter will be converted into binary. For example, R is converted into, example I am telling 1. O is converted into 0. S is converted into 1. Binary means always the number will be ones and zeros. Likewise, each and every alphabet will be converted into one binary. So after converting into binary data, the CPU will process the data. Okay. After processing, you will get the proper output. Understood the 3 points here? So what are the 3 points you have studied in CPU? CPU is the major component of the computer. What's the main use of CPU? It will execute all the software instructions, first point. And also it will control all the flow of, that is all the components. What are the components are connected to the CPU? All the components will be controlled by whom? This CPU. What are the components? Arithmetic logic unit, memory unit, input unit, output unit. So what are the units will be there? All the units will be controlled by whom? CPU. Okay. So and also the CPU will access the binary. What are the inputs you are giving? All the inputs it automatically converted to which one? Binary data. So after converting into binary data, it will just go for processing. So after processing, you will get the proper output. Understood? Understood the 3 points? Okay. Then the CPU will have 3 components. Okay, lot of components will be there, but there are three main components. What are they means? Control unit, arithmetic logic unit, and memory unit. These units you have studied in the diagram itself. Okay, CP has how many components? Three important components. What are they? Control unit, ALU, that is arithmetic and logic unit, and memory unit. Understood? Now you are going to study about each unit detail. Okay, so first one is arithmetic and logic unit. Okay, so what's the use of arithmetic and logic unit mean? So in maths, what are the common operations? Maths you have studied, no? Till 10th standard you have studied maths. 11th standard now also you are studying maths. So in a maths, which are the basic operations? Or which are the basic calculations? So in first standard itself you might study which are the basic calculations. First you will study addition, then subtraction, then multiplication, then division. Isn't it? So all this addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So all these things all together we are calling as an arithmetic and logic unit. Understood? What do you mean by arithmetic and logic unit? So this unit is mainly used to perform arithmetic calculations or arithmetic operations. First point. Okay, what's the use of arithmetic and logic unit? Mainly used to perform arithmetic calculations. What are the common arithmetic calculations you studied? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and logical operations. Okay, so logical operations is nothing but true or false. So that is called logical operation. Okay, then after doing all the calculations and all the operation, the result will be stored in where? The result will be stored in where? In the memory. So what are the operations or what are the processing will be done after processing all the things are storing in where? In memory of the CPU. Understood? So 2 points you have studied. What are the 2 points in ALU? Mainly used to perform arithmetic operations. What are the arithmetic operations? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and logical operation. So after performing all the calculation, the result will be stored in where? In the memory of a computer. Or sorry, memory of a CPU. Understood what you mean by ALU? Okay. Then next unit is control unit. So what's the meaning of control? Control means you need to control it. The student, for example, without a teacher, inside the class students are shouting. So you need to control the students, isn't it? Likewise, in the CPU also lot of devices and lot of components are there. So there also one control unit will be there. Okay. So without control unit, whether it will run properly. For example, in a roadways, government has allotted traffic police. So what's the use of traffic police? He needs to be allotted separate path for each and every vehicle. Without traffic police, particular junction, see, just a thing, in a junction without traffic police is how the roadways will be there? Block, isn't it? So likewise in computer also, CPU, one important person will be there, control unit. So what's the use of control unit? So control unit is mainly used to control the flow of data. For example, the data will be flowing from arithmetic logic input unit to ALU or arithmetic logic unit to output unit. Likewise, the data will be flow from one unit to another unit. Okay. So this flow of data will be controlled by whom? This control unit. Understood? So control unit is mainly used to control the flow of data between CPU, that is inside the CPU or memory or input device, whatever may be. Okay. So and also second point is it will control entire operation of a computer. What's the second point? So it will control entire operation of a computer. That means, so in a computer, what are the things are flowing or what are the things are going to happen? All the things will be controlled by whom? Control unit. Okay. So control this, it also control the entire operation of a computer. So control unit 2 points you have studied. What are they? Control unit is used to control the flow of data between whom and whom? CPU, memory and input device, and also it will control the entire operation of a computer. Understood? Understood or not? Okay. So 3 units you have studied. What are they? Input unit, arithmetic and logic unit, and control unit. Okay. So next one is output unit. So input you have given. So what's the process? First you need to give the input. After giving the input you need to process. So inside the processing you have studied two. What are they? ALU and control unit. So after processing you need to give the output unit. Isn't it? So what's the meaning of output unit? What's the meaning of output unit? For example, you are typing something in the computer. Okay. So in that same thing you need to take printout. Okay, same thing you need to take printout in a paper. So what you are typing in the computer is the input. Okay, so after typing you are taking printout in a paper. That is called output unit. Understood? Now read it. Output unit is any hardware component convey information to users in understandable form. For example, what are the inputs you are giving to the computer? All the inputs are processed by a CPU. After processing, you need to give the output. For example, you are typing something in the computer. You need to take printout. So to take the printout, what device you need? Printer. Isn't it? Yes. Likewise, using particular hardware component, so it will convey the information to the users in understandable form. What inputs you are giving? For example, you are typing something in the paper. After taking printout, you can able to read, isn't it? Likewise, so what are the inputs you are giving to the computer? So it will, after processing the using the particular components, you can able to take the you will get the output unit by what? In a understandable form. Okay, so here, so what are the examples of a thing it and say output unit? So what are the examples of output unit? Monitor, printer. Okay, printer you can take printout. Monitor you can able to visible, isn't it? So what's the last unit? Output unit is a hardware component mainly used to convey information to whom? Users in an understandable form. So what are the example? Monitor and printer. Okay, so input unit over, CPU inside the CPU, arithmetic logic unit over, control unit over, output unit over. One important unit is there, memory unit. Okay, so this memory unit is mainly divided of two types. Okay, primary memory and secondary memory. Important question. So memory unit is divided into how many types? Two types. What are they? Primary memory and secondary memory. Okay, so the memory from memory unit onwards you can study from the tomorrow's class. Okay, so today after completion of this online class you should write what are the things I taught. So that the functional components of a computer yesterday you might have written on the notebook, isn't it? So functional components and diagram you might have drawn. Today you need to write input unit, then arithmetic logic unit, control unit and output unit and memory unit till that. Okay, so after completion of this session you should study this. This is very very important 5-mark question from the functional components of a computer. Starting from there to till you study today. Okay, this is the study portions of homework. Homework is today you need to write all these portions. Okay students, so please don't waste time. If you have any doubt means during interactive session you can ask to me. Okay, don't waste time students. So remaining portions tomorrow I will continue. Thank you students.